upon the faces of his companions. Meaning that when the Prophet ﷺ, he became affected by this statement and he became angry, then they too became angry on account of the anger of the Prophet ﷺ. Because he showed disapproval, he became angry, then they too felt some anger and they became affected in the same way as the Messenger became affected ﷺ, and then this was visible upon their faces. So then he said, وَيْحَكَ, meaning this is a word meaning woe be to you, woe be to you. It's like a word which implies that may, some hardship come upon you, and then he said, do you know what is Allah? Do you know who is Allah? What is Allah? And then this statement here is like a form of rejection from the Prophet ﷺ, and it implies an explanation of the ignorance of this Bedouin Arab who said what he said regarding Allah. And then he continued and said that the affair of Allah is greater than that. The affair of Allah is greater than that. Verily, Allah is not to be sought as an interceder with anyone from His creation. And so then, by way of this, the Prophet ﷺ, he obviously showed rejection against this, and he purified his Lord from from what this ignorant person had said, and from what this ignorant person had done and said, and he had done what was obligatory with respect to glorifying Allah and venerating Allah. So in this hadith then, there are a number of benefits that we can take, as the Shaykh then goes on to conclude with some beneficial issues. The first issue is, the benefit that we take is, first of all, the hadith contains an evidence for the legislated nature of seeking the rain, making the dua for rain, or making al-istisqa, when the rain is either delayed or it's withheld. And this is an established sunnah. And we know that the righteous, and we know that seeking the supplication of the righteous people who are alive and present amongst us, that they call upon Allah for the Muslims, there's no harm in this. As for the dead person, then he's not to be called upon for anything, neither in terms of neither in terms of intercession, nor in terms of normal supplication. And the evidence for this is clearly that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, when the Prophet ﷺ, when he passed away, they wouldn't go to his grave and stand there and whenever they would be in need of anything. They didn't used to do this. They didn't used to go to his grave. They didn't used to go to him in the same manner that they would go to him when he was alive, and seek his supplication when he was alive. But rather, they turned instead to Al-Abbas, who was the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, because he was alive and he was present amongst them, and they requested him to call upon Allah on their behalf for them. Second issue is, in the hadith there is evidence to show the rejection of the munkar. Right? To reject the evil is what is contained in this hadith, because the Prophet ﷺ, he rejected what this A'rabi said, and he didn't remain silent. So this shows the obligation of rejecting the evil. The third benefit from the hadith is, it shows the prohibition of asking Allah to be an interceder with anyone from His creation, and that this is something that damages a person's tawheed. It diminishes or causes a person's tawheed to be deficient, and it harms a person's aqidah, and likewise it contains evil mannerisms towards Allah. It's su'ul adab, it's having bad mannerisms and evil behavior towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's for this reason that the author included, he devoted a specific chapter to this in this book, because this is what it implies. It's like evil mannerisms with Allah, and it's a deficiency in tawheed. The fourth affair is that in the hadith is an evidence to show that to seek the supplication of a living person and to seek istishfa, to seek his intercession of a person who is living, is something that is permissible. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't show rejection upon this Bedouin Arab when he said at the end of his statement, وَنَسْتَشْفَعُ بِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ, that we seek you as an interceder with Allah. So he didn't show rejection against him for saying this. Rather, he only showed rejection against him for saying the previous statement, which related to asking Allah to be an interceder with the Prophet ﷺ. But as for, in general, seeking the dua and seeking the intercession of a person who is living and present present amongst you, then there's no harm in that. And this, as we know, was the practice of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu with the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, and with others whenever they had a need for that. The fifth issue is the legislated nature of teaching an ignorant person. Teaching an ignorant person, because the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he taught this ignorant person after he showed rejection against him, and after he notified him of the mistake that he had fallen into. And so he obviously taught him in order to give this person a direction, and in order that he may not fall into it and avoid it in the future. And the seventh point is that the hadith also contains the legislated nature of making tasbih or takbir whenever a munkar takes place, or whenever an evil affair takes place, or when an affair which is ajib, when an affair which is amazing or strange occurs. It shows that it's legislated to say Subhanallah or Allahu Akbar whenever such issues arise and we witness them, as opposed to what is done, what is done by the other people who tend to just what they do is they just like the remarks that the kuffar make when they see something strange or amazing, or when something when evil is witnessed, and they make remarks, or they make calamity, they make remarks or things like that, or they show displeasure or whatever. Then this is opposed to what those people do, who the people who imitate the kuffar. Rather, we say Subhanallah and we say Allahu Akbar in such affairs. And that's the end of the discussion of this chapter, and inshallah we'll stop the lesson there, and we'll continue with another chapter in the next lesson next week, inshallah.